Hey there, everybody. Welcome into Flag Day Edition, MLB Made Easy. I'm your buddy Chapadong. Of course, this is brought to you by DFSArmy.com, one-stop shopping, all things daily fantasy sports. Head down into the description. If you are a struggling player, this is a video for you. This is going to show you a process by which you can set your day. You can jump in the minute these numbers populate, and you can do the same routine day in and day out and get your foundation set right. I'm receiving a lot of compliments. I appreciate you guys liking and subscribing the videos, giving me some comments in the YouTube channel, but mostly in our Discord, our free Discord rooms, where you guys are telling us that you're responding to the system. It makes a lot of sense. Maybe you make a tweak here or there on your own, but you're using this foundation or this system as your foundation as the day goes on, and that is getting you off to a better start. You're seeing results, you're winning more cash games, you're winning more triple ups and leagues and things, and that tells me that what we're doing works. So if you're a struggling player, like and subscribe to the video as well. Jump on in and let's bang this thing out in 5 or 10 minutes. It just doesn't take very long when you simplify things down to the nuts and bolts and the nitty gritty and all that good stuff. So what we're going to do first is we always look for pitchers. And because the stats don't change between FanDuel and DraftKings, I just use the FanDuel tab most of the time. If you want to see the DraftKings pricing, you can use the Pitchers tab for DraftKings as well. But I'm really just going to slide over to Chop Shop after I double check and make sure there's no sneaky early game on the slate that I need to eliminate to get to just the main slate. If you were playing a later slate, say 6 games, they all started at 8 o'clock, that's what you would do. You would just knock down just those games at 8 o'clock and to the 9 o'clock. These 3 time slots here, you would leave those checked, and now you're only looking at the express slate or whatever it is that you're wanting to do. And you can play any way, any slate you want this way. It will knock off all of the fluff and get you down to just what you want to see, which is your slate. It's a big slate today, so when we dive into the Chop Shop and go largest to smallest, I expect to see quite a few viable options. Glasnow, Gonsolin, Lynn, Peterson, Lamet, whatever. I may look over here at Gonsolin and see only the one start, 1 inning pit. That's not a good number. Okay, so you can take him, you can throw him out. Lance Lynn, Tyler Glasnow, Peterson's a little sketch maybe. Lamet's on a small sample size still. Manoah, these guys, Brad Keller, Eric Lauer, these guys carry good K scores. They make decent tournament options if you think you've got some sniff of news that you think somebody's going to be unleashed and could have a big game. They've got the potential to do it. They've got the matchup to do it based on K score, which compares their strikeout potential and the free swinging nature of the team that they're facing today. But I would be sticking in my cash games, my leagues, and most of my tournament lineups, with the pitchers that I trust, with the pitchers I know. I don't take a lot of chances personally on pitchers because, again, when I back test slates, I find that the top 4 or 5 owned pitchers on the slate are generally in the winning lineups, period, end of story. I don't need to look any further. Why would I take a gamble on somebody that isn't likely to be in the winning lineup anyway? I would rather just knock that easy piece out, stick to those top 4 or 5 owned pitchers, and just roll on. I'm going to let the projections do a lot of it. I may boost projections like I do with hot hitters when it comes to a guy that maybe is not showing up in a lot of lineups. Let's say I'm getting a lot of Glasnow and I see the same price. Really and truly, I should prefer him over Lance Lynn. It's a 50-point difference in the K score that for no difference in price tag. Maybe you feel a little safer with a Lance Lynn for a cash game or whatever, but I'm going to take probably the lower owned guy in tournaments today. One maybe 32%, one maybe 27%. Maybe it's the difference between 30% and 18%. Maybe there's a bigger gap. I don't know. What I do know is I'm going to take probably the lower owned guy, probably boost him in the projections, being that they're about the same price. I hope it's Glasnow because with the higher strikeout potential, I hopefully have some more upside. That's something that I'll spot on these things and I will act on when and not dig too deeply into my research when it comes to these pitchers and everything. Now I will include other pitchers with them that may pull in at 5 to 10 to 15% of my lineups as I build. But generally speaking, if I'm building 1 to 3 lineups, it's going to be Glasnow and Lynn, and pretty much that's about it. I might have 2 lineups of one guy and 1 lineup of the other so that I'm not all in case he implodes, but that's the general gist, and that's all I need to look at for pitching. I can take the W score column and sort that, start looking for stacks. Largest to smallest, big numbers up here. Anything over, I don't know, 600, 650. 650 gets us way down here, right? And that number could have a ceiling game for that offense, just like a 680 or just like a 710 or whatever. You start getting too low, though, and you don't have a lot of potential down in here of winning the slate usually. So you want to stay up here towards the top. And every slate is different. We need to be looking at what the slate gives us. Tonight it gives us lots of options over 700. So why opt for a 650? Unless I really, really liked it for whatever reason, I'm going to favor the bigger WOBA matchups because this is an offense with punch going up against a pitcher that struggles. It doesn't have to be rocket science. Like I just try to tell you this over and over and over again because this will land you in some pretty interesting spots and some pretty low-owned spots as well in offenses that have the chance to really blow up a slate. When I scroll over and take a look at who those might be, down to say about Lester and Wainwright. We know Wainwright can implode. So, I mean, any of these guys are fair game, especially the cheaper ones. You might pick on them due to their pricing algorithms. So you're looking at St. Louis is in a great spot tonight, tops on the slate. Now, do you trust the way their offense has been going the past week? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but they're in a great matchup. The Cubs, the Twins, the Red Sox, the Reds. I mean, St. Louis won't be over-owned tonight. They maybe have a better chance at breaking the slate than they would normally. They may have a better chance at breaking the slate than their ownership would otherwise suggest. So there may be a lot of leverage there in taking that gamble that they just might do it. Expect them not to, but they just might do it. And if they do, you find yourself in there competing with fewer and fewer lineups. And that's how you win DFS MLB. So Boston, Cincinnati, Oakland, Seattle, Detroit, Pittsburgh, a lot of weaker offenses are on this list, but somebody's going to have a night. The WOBA suggests it's just going to happen. Somebody's going to have a night. And if you are able to nut that stack, then you're going to set yourself up really, really well. A lot of the bigger offensive names are down here facing a little bit tougher pitching, apparently. That's the way it goes tonight. Tonight might be a little bit of a goofy slate. If I see a team like Boston or Minnesota slip in ownership, where they start getting overlooked because somebody, like the Dodgers or somebody like Toronto or the Angels or whatever, Kansas City for value or whatever the case may be, Washington being more popular, I'm going to opt to go overweight on these guys up here rather than these guys down here. Now, I may still incorporate some of that if I'm building 100 lineups. I may still incorporate, I still want some LA or I still want some Toronto or I still want some of those higher owned teams, and that's great. But I'm going to make sure that I'm overweight these other teams that are flying under the radar. If they have a greater than usual chance of nutting the slate and they have a lower than usual ownership, I love, love, love those situations. And you should too, because once again, generates leverage. So there's your pitchers, and there's basically your stacks that you should be looking at. To go into the trends tab here, to knock out how easy this is to find these hotter hitters, we're going to need a big number today because it's a big slate. So let's go ahead and just start at the 450. Have I changed my philosophy of 400 and 200? No. I just already know it's a big slate. So I need to do something to cut those guys down and to get it to where I'm only looking at a short list, right? See how short that list just got? If I want, I can open it back up. I can come back down to, say, 425. And that'll lengthen that list a little bit, right? So there you go. There's 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 names, whatever it is you're comfortable with. You've got all guys hitting over 425 WOBA the last 7 days, and everybody hitting over a 250 ISO the last 7 days. Those are big numbers. Those are hot streaks. And the reason that I use 7 day over 14 or over 30 days or whatever, if a guy is hot, 463 over 30 days for Vladimir Guerrero, we all know about it. But he's had 29 days of price adjusting flowing into his salary. He's at the top of his price range right now. There's not a lot of value left in it. He may still be a valuable player. He may still be outproducing that salary. But generally speaking, he's been up there for a while. If you look over here at the 7-day numbers, they are bigger than that 30-day number. Suggests he's still got room to go. He's running hot, right? But if I use it like a 15 or 14-day number, then if I catch him, if this is my number that I finally say, okay, it's gone over 425, I want to use this number, then I'm catching him on maybe day 12, 13, 14 of his hot streak. If he's going to last that long, 14 days in a hot streak and produce these kind of numbers for 30, would you rather be on him in day 5 or day 12 or day 27? You'd rather be on him on day 5 because you get 20 more days of his hot streak if you play him each and every day. That's where I like these short samples, but I do use them. I'll use 30 days as maybe a baseline. I want to see that somebody, here, like, who's this? Is this Biggio? Kevin Biggio at 258, jumped to a 667 and is holding steady there. Probably an injury, probably just coming back into playing, whatever. But I'm looking for guys 277, 364, 625 for Nelson Cruz. Nelson Cruz is getting hot. 167, very cold for a month. 296, starting to heat up for Tyler Stevenson. 556 got hot last week. These ascending numbers are numbers that I'm going to watch. And if this number starts to tail off and then crosses under this number again, because the longer this one stays up, this 556, the more this one's going to grow. Let's say this 296 gets to 400, and then this number dips to 385 or 350. I'm going to start looking to get off the train because he's coming back south. And when he comes back south, pricing always trails production. So that pricing is all of a sudden overpriced and he's no longer a value. In fact, he's costing me more than I'm going to get from him unless I get lucky. I use these numbers up and down, up and down, up and down, and watch them. And this is what I'm trying to go through. Trying to determine when I want to time a hot streak and when I want to try and time a cold streak and regression, right? Because nobody's going to hold a 667 ISO for a year. It doesn't exist. But a 460 for 30 days is pretty damn awesome. These are, again, the guys that you should be focused on inside those stacks and maybe consider as your one-offs. Boston has a player, Bogarts, right? Cubs have a player. Cincinnati has 2. Castellanos and Seaman. Notice no Winker. Doesn't mean Winker's not playable. It just means you maybe shouldn't focus on him. You might include him in your stacks, but you don't maybe want to build around him in every stack you build with the Reds in it. You want to take some different players in there. You might want to build around a Castellanos or a Tyler Stevenson, though. Okay? Kansas City 1, Detroit 1, Oakland 2, Philly 2, Cincy. These are the opponents. LA 2, Minnesota 2, New York 2. I'm not seeing anybody with more than 2. There's Toronto. Boom. Look at how hot they're hitting as a group. Bichette, Biggio, McGuire, Guerrero, if they all find the starting lineup tonight, you're going to want them all in your stacks. You may swap a couple of guys here or there out, but you're going to want to key on those guys and make sure they are in the majority of your stacks because they're swinging hot, hot, hot bats. Okay? This is how you use these numbers. We look at the pitchers for strikeout potential. We look at the hitters, the stacks for what team is in a good WOBA spot facing a struggling pitcher. And then we go find the hot bats inside those stacks, inside those teams that we've identified that we like. And then we start building our stacks around them. And then maybe we go to our cheat sheets for core plays of the coaches telling us, because this trend misses things. It definitely is not a complete snapshot of the scenario. That's where you start branching out from here and start taking on your own routine and go into maybe more pitch profiles if you like that, or maybe splits and handedness and if you like that. And whatever it is, you can branch out and you can use the optimizer and start tweaking different settings and different things. Any of that stuff is fair game. But you can always come back to this system when things start to get a little bit out of whack. I'll leave you with this today. When I played a lot of golf, I would go play every day, weeks and weeks and weeks. And I would start tweaking this and tweaking that. The next thing you know, I was so out of sorts. I didn't know what I was doing right and what I was doing wrong. I couldn't feel my fundamental golf swing anymore because I was too busy worried about doing this and doing that. And I would get completely out of sorts. So the only way that I could do anything to get back on track was to kind of reset the system. Take a few days off. Get to the point that I absolutely can no longer feel where that ball's going to go. When I stand up on that first tee again and I do not know where that ball is going, that's a good thing because I have to come back to the basics, back to my roots, back to my foundation, and then I can go from there. And my game always fixed itself immediately. Yours will do the same if you scrap everything that you've confused yourself with and you get back to this foundation system and then start building again from there. Use all the knowledge, everything that you've learned along the way, but start building back slowly. Reset the system, build back slowly. Believe me, you'll see results. And if you need more discussion, come in and see me in our free Discord channel. I'm Chapadong. Love to talk to you. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care, guys.